So thank you. Thank you so much, Marcella, for your beautiful vibrations you've put into the room. And I'd just also like to add my welcome to everybody. It really feels incredibly special to be a part of this beautiful gathering. And just sitting here, I was feeling, just looking at the creation in the middle. It's exquisite, isn't it? I think everyone, you must be feeling, I was feeling just how much love and care has been put to create an atmosphere that's going to support us over the next few days. And I really feel it's a privilege to be with all of you, and should thank all the team for inviting me. I think the theme for our few days, which is going to sort of penetrate everything we do, so appropriate, isn't it? Serenity in the midst of turbulence. We live in a turbulent world, but we live in an extraordinary world. Nearly 8 billion human beings, our brothers and sisters, around 195 countries, 4,500 practiced religions, and 6,500 spoken languages. But that is really our seen world. It's the world that we perceive through our sense organs. We interact every day. We see it, we hear it, we touch it, we feel it. But there's another world, which is really our inner world, which is the unseen world, which is the world we're exploring over the next few days. And that's the world really of our thoughts and our feelings, our awareness. And just as the external world, the seen world, is an extraordinary world, the unseen world is too an extraordinary world. And, you know, sometimes I have the image in my mind, nearly 8 billion human beings, human souls, all like little transmitters, transmitting thought energy into the environment. And I've read some sort of scientific data that the human mind in a waking day creates around 70,000 unique thought patterns. Please don't ask me how they counted them, got no idea. In other words, a lot of thoughts. So just have that image that 8 billion transmitters pumping out thoughts into the atmosphere. And all of us, I think, wherever we live in the world, and what was lovely listening to all of you, we're living in all corners of this planet. We all see our world unraveling fast in front of our eyes. We see a sort of a disintegration on so many levels. And I often think, what is feeding it? What is feeding it? I sort of think it's the collective human mind. When we all come together, our collective human mind, our collective thought energy. When the human mind is full of greed, we create this materialistic culture that's destroying our environment. When the human mind is full of ego, we just have self-interest. We've lost that real sense of love and compassion for each other. When the collective human mind is full of anger, we can see how much anger is there in our world, conflict and differences, which manifests in these global conflicts. And unfortunately today, as we see, when the collective human mind is so ingrained with anxiety and depression, it's almost like an environment of mental instability. And so this collective human mind is flowing from the unseen world, and it's flowing through all our systems into this world, through our families, through our relationships, through our politics, through our business, through almost every part of life. And hence the result of this collective human mind is an incredibly turbulent, unpredictable environment which all of us on a daily basis are trying to negotiate. And when I see it, I come to three conclusions, really. The first is that there's no turning back. You know, a lot of people want to turn back to the good old days. Remember the good old days? Unfortunately, I think we won't be turning back to the good old days. I think what we're going to see is even increasing turbulence, you know, economic upheaval, social instability, all the stuff which we're seeing. The second conclusion, I think, is that we need a new approach. We need a new approach. We can see where the world is going at the moment. And one thing which was said to me many, many years ago, you know how very little things sometimes people articulate really have a deep impact. And someone said to me about the law of control. What do you have control over? Do we have control over all this stuff outside of us, the politics, the economics? Of course not. We don't, do we? But our sphere of influence, our sense of control, where I can bring change, is in my thoughts, my feelings, my attitudes, my behavior, my actions. And in a way, a gathering like this, I think we come together to sort of feel that I can't really change the world out there much, maybe in a minuscule way through the seen world, but I can change my reaction to it by really taking responsibility for my inner world. And sometimes I feel, you know, the grid, the human grid of this thought energy, when I start to put a new energy into the human grid, more serenity into the human grid, then really change begins. And I really feel it's happening. Do you feel it's happening? As much as we see this incredible tsunami of turbulence, there's another growing energy, I think, of people like us who are sitting around together because we want something completely different. And we know that we can't just keep pointing the finger in so many different directions. I have to take responsibility and really emerge a different energy of serenity within me. And the third conclusion is we need a new wisdom. And, you know, I've been a meditator myself for about 47 years. And, you know, I had a reasonable education, I think. And I think we all have that intellectual wisdom. It's great. It's important. It helps me get a good job, make a bit of money, do all that sort of stuff. But when I really feel I lose my confidence, or I feel those feelings of sadness or stress, anxiety, depression, all these things, does it help? I don't think so. We have an emotional wisdom, which is an essential ingredient of life to create rich, loving, sustainable relationships with others. To me, that's such a beautiful wisdom to have. But spiritual wisdom, if emotional wisdom is the wisdom to build rich, loving relationships with others, spiritual wisdom is the wisdom to build a rich, loving relationship with me. And really, in a sense, I think it's almost like going back to square one, that what we're seeing out there is a manifestation of the dysfunction of the first relationship of life, me with me. And sometimes I have the image, if there's 8 billion of us with a fairly uncomfortable relationship with me, how does it manifest in life and manifest in all our systems? You know, it creates turbulence because this first relationship is often so unhealthy. And so what we're going to do is really begin to explore serenity. And in a sense, rebuilding. To me, serenity is building a sacred space in myself that is connected to the world, but uninfluenced by the world. So I'm a part of life. I have to contribute to life. But how do I create a place inside that I can keep serene, peaceful, calm? have a wisdom that protects that from absorbing the turbulence. Because I think we just become addicted. Sometimes I think the mind is like a vacuum cleaner, you know? And because often we feel a bit empty, the position of the mind is we're searching for love, respect. So when I get a bit of love, I suck it in. You like the sound effects, Judy, did you? When there's a bit of respect, I take it in. When there's a bit of support, I take it in. When there's a bit of insult, I take it in. When there's a bit of, you know, criticism, I take it in. And when there's turbulence, I take in everything. And then often the culture is we project back on everyone. And to me, serenity in a way is rebuilding a sacred space, or building a sacred space in myself that is connected with the world, my responsibilities, but is not so influenced or polluted by this world culture which we're all living in at the moment. And what we're going to do over the next few days is explore sort of 3 steps of that. And during this retreat, we don't just want to sort of talk about it. We really want to try and practice so that we move from intellectually knowing the stuff into starting to feel it and become it, because that's when it really becomes a power of life. And I think there's 3 main steps that really build a serenity in myself. The first is to know and experience who I am. And to me, this is lifelong learning. And sometimes I think, you know, when we go to university here, how much information do we know? I mean, the collective information in this room is extraordinary. And yet, what is spiritual education? Taking one idea, who am I? And going deeper, 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 exploring, fathoming the depths. And out of that comes a serenity that is not broken by the turbulence. The second thing is to create an anchor. As this world just swirls around me, everyday news, and is just sort of coming into that thought soup, which affects all of us, I need an anchor. And in the second day, we're really going to explore how to have a connection with the divine. Not so much a religious belief in God, but a real living relationship with a being that's completely stable and uninfluenced, so that when I am under that influence, even though this world, this turbulent world and all its moods are around me, I have an anchor, a still point where I can keep so stable and strong. The third aspect is benevolence. And I feel this is intrinsic to our nature, actually. Have you noticed that when you are in a state of giving in a very, shall I say, positive and uplifting way, how do you feel about yourself? It feels this is really who we are. We are benevolent beings. And when I began to meditate, I realized that the whole framework of my mind began to change because I think that our addiction at the moment, subconsciously, we just keep absorbing the turbulence, absorbing. Hence my inner world fluctuates. But the more I really take from the divine and I begin to give, the framework of my thinking is to give respect, give love, give support, just keep giving. The more I give, the less I take, the less I absorb. And I think spirituality is really taking from that relationship with the divine, the one relationship that's really permanent, and giving. And the more I give, the more I can remain stable and serene internally. And the way we want to construct the next few days is that twice a day, we're just going to have a little card with a practice. So in our silence times, we really, really encourage, we all know we have so much going on in our lives, all of us. with ourselves, with our relationships, with our responsibilities. There's so much. We have such a full life. But to really try to put the pause button on that, not to suppress it, not to deny it, it's real, but really explore these practices. Because as I practice, I actually begin to really become serene in my life. I taste a quality of peace. And this has been my own story, because I think that, we can know things. I often feel the first step is to know. The second step is to believe ideas. The next 998 steps are educating myself, to transform what I know into what I feel. And this is what we're going to really start to explore, how we can take ideas and massage them into my experience so that I can really leave here and take these practices back and build a more serene life. And so I think over the next few days, it's going to be, lots of time for us to practice some of these things. And if I can really encourage, I've often done practices myself over months and months to do one thing, and you actually move out of the theory and it really starts to become a part of who you are. And that's one of the most, wonderful experiences to rebuild a sense of self-value, when I really see I'm transforming by practicing something to nurture a serenity in myself. So I think we're going to finish with just a few moments of meditation, and anything else that we need to do before that. And over the next few days, tomorrow morning we'll be introducing each other, but we'll have these periods of silence. And once again, I can really, really encourage, because I know how easy it is to start to think about the issue at home, the issue at work. How many issues are there? They're endless, aren't they, really? And to sort of try and really be present and practice, I think, means we'll take back something quite unique. So I would love to invite everyone for just a few moments of meditation. And I'm just going to offer a few thoughts. Just let me relax and feel the incredibly special gift of 3 days to nurture a quality of serenity in myself. A serenity that will sustain me, but also sustain those I love. To begin this journey, let me reflect deeply what I really want. To really go on this journey, let me consciously put a pause button on all the issues, the responsibilities going on in my life. Just for the next minute, just reflect in silence and feel yourself putting the full stop. to my life out there so I can be present here. To begin the journey to building a sacred inner space of serenity. I need to know and experience my permanent self. And to do that, I need to let go all the limited identities I've created that feed my inner turbulence and connect with the permanent identity that builds serenity. The first layer of identity to let go is identifying with what I do. My role as a partner, a parent, a colleague. That is not who I am, but what I do. And just gently, gently feel yourself consciously stepping back, withdrawing, letting go to move closer to my sacred space of serenity. And moving along on this inner journey for just a moment, visualize your body sitting in this chair, just like you're above a helicopter view. Observe all the labels of your body, your gender, your color, your religion, your nationality, your profession. They are not who I am. They are the labels of my temporary self. And very gently, gently withdraw, step back from all these temporary labels and go deeper towards my serene, sacred space. And now look at my past, the whole story of this life. What has happened to me, how people have treated me, what has been said, what has been done. That is my story, but it is not who I am. Even feel yourself letting go, stepping back, withdrawing from all these limited identities, and feel yourself sitting so lightly in the forehead. I the eternal soul. I, the one who always exists. I, the one who can never die. I, the one whose natural state is serenity. The more I live in this state of soul consciousness, I take a huge step to rebuilding a real sacred space of serenity internally. A space so secure that the turbulent world cannot penetrate. It is possible. It just needs practice. Om Shanti.